Greetings, everyone. I hope that you all are doing good and staying safe. Welcome to our seventh session of our grand event, Focus Next India, sponsored by Beta Testers and CBU. As a part of creating awareness, we present you this informative and interactive session with an amazing personality. The topic today we are going to discuss is all about basic laws and rights. The concept of this today's topic is all about what are the basic laws and rights that every student must be aware of. Here we have a versatile personality who is an intellectual student of National Law University and Judicial Academy, Assam. Before we welcome him onto the stage, let us know about his aspiring journey through a video.
Aditya Trivedi is a fourth-year law student at National Law University and Judicial Academy, Assam. He is a young poet, writer, and a future corporate lawyer. He is involved in organizational leadership and youth initiatives. He is the founding convener of NSS unit of NLU Assam, State Ambassador of Kavya Varsha, coordinator of Young Thinkers Forum Assam, among other leadership roles. He regularly advises startups and youth organizations like ISEC. He is the co-founder of weekly podcast In Conversation with IPR and Competition Law. Apart from law, he reviews books, writes poems, articles and delivers speeches on national platforms. He has relevant work experience in competition law, advisory and policy. He seeks opportunities in constitution law, competition or antitrust law, data protection, technology law, public policy and commercial and regulatory litigation.
That was an inspiring video. Aditya sir is a law student, but he never excelled in only one field, that is law. But he has explored in many fields too. He's a poet, a writer, and a distinguished speaker and a thought leader. He has in-depth knowledge of law, literature, leadership, and socio-economic and social leader and multidisciplinary areas. His ability to tackle any problem is remarkable and with necessary warmth. Here we have Aditya Trivedi sir to interact with us and to inspire many of the young leaders today. With all due respect, let me welcome Mr. Aditya Trivedi onto the screen. A hearty welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Arshita, and thank you, Pledex, for inviting me to your very special and remarkable conference, Focus Next India.
Thank you so much, sir. We are quite thrilled to see you today. The warmest congratulations on all your achievements on behalf of my team, sir. So, sir, how do you feel about inspiring a lot of young minds and aspiring to improve our country?
Thank you, Harshita. So this question is, like say, it's a little bit difficult to answer because when we all are students, see, I'm a student myself, but when we are younger, we have ideals in our mind, we have principles in our mind, or we have some people whom we want, whom we aspire, or some person, some teacher, some entrepreneur, or some personality might inspire you. But one
Yes.
day that the time will come when you have to become like that, because if you do not become like that, then you can only dream but you cannot execute that dream. So during my school days I used to develop my interest in literature, and after that I got guidance to pursue law. So when I came to law, because I am a first generation lawyer, it means that in my family there is no other lawyer other than me. So in legal fraternity we have some issues if we are first generation lawyer, because we do not have direct guidance available. So it was a journey of say efforts and as well as motivation which I got from my seniors, from my mentors in law. So this is the thing, and we do not know that are we inspiring anyone. We do not rise up from bed in the morning and think that yes, today we will inspire five people, or today we will take inspiration from five people. It is all a journey of law, journey of life. So these things are interconnected, and I believe that if we follow certain principles, if we are well aware, then we can achieve whatever we want to become.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, yeah, sir, that's so amazing. I'm quite happy that the students will be learning a lot from you today. So, okay, sir, without any further ado, let's dive into something deep, something like something interesting. So, sir, we have some questions, some interesting questions from our side. Hope this session will help a lot of budding law students there. Shall we go into it, sir?
Yes, sure.
Sir, can you tell us about your work experience in the field of law?
Yes. So currently, I'm in fourth year, as you said in your introduction of my law school. And when we do internships in law, so I try to gain experience through the internships, because when we intern, we work on a relevant area of law or maybe a relevant field. So in my mind, in my first year, I thought that I have to work, because in our school we used to study legislature, judiciary, executive, media as four pillars of democracy. We used to study about politicians, media personals in newspapers. So I thought that I made a checklist of myself, that I have to do this, I have to meet these people, I have to, and there was no support, direct support, as I said, because I don't have direct contacts. I had to build the network. So I interned with a member of parliament at Lok Sabha Parliament of India as a legislative intern in my first year. Then I also worked with Additional Advocate General of Madhya Pradesh. So for all of you who do not are who are not lawyers, then Advocate General of a state represents the government of that state in legal matters in the courts of law. I also worked with Solicitor General of India, who represents Union of India before Supreme Court and other courts in legal matters. Then I worked with Election Commission of Madhya Pradesh, analyzing how elections are conducted, what is the role of EVMs, and how transparent or how smooth the process of elections are. Then I also interned with Indian Road Safety Campaign of IIT Delhi. You might be aware of. They run a good program related to awareness of road safety. So I had a short stint of being a team leader of my team there. Then I worked with tier one law firms, some tier one law firms like J Sagar Associates or Lakshmi Kumar and Sridharan and Gaggar and Partners and some other law firms. I also worked with advocates on record of Supreme Court of India, and currently I am working with Mr. Dhanendra Kumar, who is the former chairperson of Competition Commission of India. He's an IAS officer, retired IAS officer.
It's really great, sir. Such an you have explored in many ways and many fields in such at such a young age. So that's really great, sir. So, sir, what are some basic laws and rights that our country, that youth of the country must know?
Yes. So let me answer that question by saying that whenever we talk about laws, a picture of a lawyer or a judge comes in our mind. Do not think laws of what you see in television, because there's a concept of media trial which we lawyers do not necessarily promote. Media trial means media persons or journalists stating some or other thing about any incident without proper knowledge of law, because a court of law is the perfect place to get justice or say access to justice in India, and not a newsroom. So do not always consider or form your opinion about laws or your basic rights from just newspapers or media channels. They have to be have authentic. You have to refer to authentic sources. Whenever we talk about laws and rights, they also entails duties. If you are demanding something, you have to give something. We all are a part of society. We might have read in our political science papers that our society was formed out of a social contract, as social contract theory is so. So if this society is formed out of a contract, then contract in itself is a law. So everything has to be governed. For example, if you play the game of cricket, then there has to be some rules. Otherwise, there you will create a mess or you will fight with your colleagues. And if there is no empire, then there will be anarchy. So similarly, we have a democratic state in India, we have constitution as the law of the land, we have fundamental rights, we have consumer rights, we have rights in every area that is necessary, like labor rights, environment rights. Though these kind of things are there. And what do you mean by law? If I say the law can be referred to as justice, law can be your duties, law can be your legislations. So everything that has to do with you for your life, everything. If you drive a vehicle, then Motor Vehicles Act applies. Right now we are engaging through social media or say YouTube, then e-commerce rules are there. Information Technology Act, IT Act 2000 applies, because there's a measure of data privacy and cyber security. And there is intellectual property rights also. For example, if someone copies my poem without my permission, then he is infringing my copyright. Similarly, if someone is infringing the logo of Pledex, then that person is infringing the trademark, whether the trademark is registered or not, because we have infringement as well as passing off. He will be having a remedy under common law. So there are these basic laws and rights. A session will not be enough to discuss all the laws, but we have a lot of them. We can discuss the basic principles, but not all of them.
Yeah, okay. Yes, sir. So, sir, can you tell us the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution of India?
Yes, definitely. Before jumping on to fundamental rights, let me just narrate the preamble of the Constitution of India. It says that we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, the 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. So, first of all, we have to understand the importance, because we are not given or enforced any constitution, or there is no pressure that you have to do this or you have to do that. When Constituent Assembly met before the independence of our nation, because for independence, when a nation is sovereign, a sovereign state has to have its own law to regulate and make rules and regulations, and also rights and duties. So we gave to ourselves this constitution. So this is very important to understand. After that, we have certain fundamental rights which are defined in part 3 of Indian Constitution. Some of them are right to equality, Article 14, which says that everyone is equal before the eyes of law, as we often say and believe. So right to equality is a fundamental right. Then we have right to freedom. Right to freedom involves six freedoms, as we say, like freedom of speech and expression. Right now, I am speaking without any pressure, or say without considering that whether I'm right or wrong, or without considering that is someone putting a gun on my head to speak. So this is a right to free speech and expression. But yes, this right shall not be misused. Then we have freedom of assembly, that people can come together to generate ideas, to meet, to greet each other. Like we have Christmas Eve, people are meeting, they are greeting each other. These all, and right to assembly can be in the form of any cultural event or political event also. Because in British times, they do not have right to assembly, because if they used to assemble against the Britishers, then they were punished, because it was a kind of sedition. Then we have right to form associations, like Pledex is an organization. I also work for some associations or lead some associations. We have freedom of movement. If you are able to move from one place to another, it is all because of the right that you are given. Then we have freedom of profession, occupation. Like I would be a lawyer, you might be engineers, or professional software engineers, management professionals. So this is all about the freedom that we are given. Then we have right to freedom of religion in India. India is a country of diversity. We have a lot of religions. We have right to profess our religion, promote our religion. We have cultural and educational rights. Then we have right to constitutional remedies. Right to constitutional remedies is the most important of all of these, which is enshrined in Article 32 of the Constitution of India. Because if you do not enforce these laws, then these laws are nothing but just a written piece of document. So Article 32 through Article 32, you file writ petitions in High Court and Supreme Court. If you have to file a writ petition in High Court, there is Article 226, but you have to file writ petitions or public interest litigation, as we say, you have to file that in Supreme Court. So through the writ petitions or writs, you enforce your fundamental rights. If any right has been violated, then you can always go to Supreme Court. For example, you might have seen that if a person is arrested without any reason, and if he or she is not presented before the court, then the lawyer of that person can ask for habeas corpus petition before the Supreme Court or maybe High Court. There are these certain fundamental rights.
Okay, sir. Like many of us, many of the students here came to know about all the fundamental rights. So this will be very useful for that for students. Thank you, sir. Sir, would you like to say something about the criminal justice system of our India?
Yes, so speaking about criminal justice system of India, all of you might have seen quotes in movies or might have read something in newspapers. You must have seen a lawyer appearing for one person is appearing for the murderer
Yes.
and one person is appearing on behalf of a state. So crimes are considered to be crimes against states, against the whole society. So that is why we have the cause titles of these cases like XYZ versus Union of India or XYZ versus State of Madhya Pradesh. If there is any crime, so Indian
Yes.
Penal Code is a code which includes all the offenses which are committed, which might be committed, or all the offenses, not all the list. The list is not exhaustive. We have special acts as well, like Prevention of Corruption Act. But in Indian Penal Code, we have provisions of maybe like suicide, theft, murder, rape, etc. So Indian Penal Code consists of all these provisions. Then we have Criminal Procedure Code, because law is all about procedure. So in criminal procedure code, the power of criminal courts are given, how they can exercise their powers, some substantial provisions like maintenance of wives and children. Then we have the procedure, how to proceed, how to appeal to a petition or criminal petition, or say how to understand the provisions related to criminal revision or criminal appeal. All these things are given in CRPC, Criminal Procedure Code. Then we have Indian Evidence Act, because whenever you appear before court or if you have any witness, then how that witness will be testified, what is the importance of the testimony of a witness, what are the forms, what are the procedures, in which form and evidence can be accepted, is this the right form, what is the relevancy of facts, what are relevant facts. Because anyone, any Tom, Dick and Harry can come and say that yes, this is the reason of the murder, or this is the reason that this person bribed this person, this is this camera recording. If that camera recording is fraud, then uh, that particular video will not be accepted in court. So all these things, lawyers, criminal lawyers understand all these provisions. Basically, Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, Indian Evidence Act, and other special laws. Like recently, we have read about the drugs which were consumed by some young people in India, and there were some famous cases. I'm not naming any particular case. So NDPS Act, uh, Narco Act is there in India, which administers about the drug trafficking as well as the consumption of drugs. So these all things are there. Then you have certain special rights, like for example, Article 20 and 22 of the Constitution of India, which are your fundamental rights. So these all things are there with respect to criminal justice system.
Okay, sir. Great to know. Great to hear about these things too, sir. So, sir, what do you think about the fundamental duties of a citizen? Being a citizen, what is the fundamental duties?
Yes, definitely. So when we talk about rights, there are certain duties that the state of India has enshrined upon us. Because if the state is providing, please remember whenever I'm saying state, state does not mean your states like Madhya Pradesh, Kerala, or Karnataka.
Mm,
State means your system, which includes all the parts of judiciary, legislative, executive, as well as the your public as well, everything. So the state has enshrined upon you certain fundamental duties, like you have to do this. Otherwise, how will we maintain the integrity, sovereignty, and respect of the institution of the nation? So there are certain fundamental duties which are enshrined in Article 51A of the Constitution of India. Firstly, we have to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, that is, the national flag, national anthem. You might have seen that there was a debate related to a national anthem recently, not
yes.
recently, but yes,
Mm,
2 to 3 years
mm,
back. Then
mm,
we have national flag. So in India, we have flag code. So there are
mm,
provisions related to flag, a national flag, how it can be used
yes.
or not used, how it has to be respected in certain manner. Then it's our duty to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle of independence. That is why we see that we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, 75th year of India's independence. The government of India is celebrating right now. It's a fundamental duty. Then it's a duty to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. It's our
Mm,
duty to defend the country and render national service when called upon to. Then it's our duty to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India. It's our duty to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. It's our duty to protect and improve the natural environments, including the forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife. It's our duty to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. It's our
mm,
duty to safeguard public property and not write XYZ names on national monuments and all these things. It's our
yes.
duty to serve towards excellence in all spheres of individuals. So these are certain fundamental duties. Aren't these fundamental duties like inspirational quotes which are motivating us to become better and be a better version of ourselves and serve the country in any way possible, in all ways possible?
Yes, sir, these are our fundamental duties. Every citizen must have to take the responsibility as a citizen, as being a citizen of our country. Thank you, sir. Sir, can you comment on the on our rights as a consumer?
Yes. And fortunately, today is National Consumer Rights Day. Today is 24th December, and on this
Yes.
day in 1986, firstly, like currently the law is upgraded or say amended, but original act was Consumer Protection Act 1986, and on this day, President of India assented to the enactment of this act. So today is Consumer Rights Day, and this year's theme is to tackle plastic pollution. So when we talk about consumer rights, we all are consumers from cradle to grave. We all
Yes,
are
sir.
consumers. Right now, if
Yes.
I'm wearing tie, I'm a consumer of this tie. If I'm
Yeah.
speaking before a laptop, I'm a consumer of the laptop services. So we have certain rights as a consumer. Firstly, right to safety, that you
Yeah.
have to be protected from the goods and services itself. For example, if your washing machine explodes, it is the responsibility of the manufacturer. If there is adulteration in your food, in your chocolate, or in the food which you are having at a restaurant, the restaurant
Mm.
owner and the chef is responsible. Then we have right to information, right to be informed. Like we see when we purchase any goods, then we have all the information about the manufacturing date, the place, and
Yeah.
about the MRP and about the expiry date, all these things, quantity, quality, purity, potency, standard price. So these things are there. Then we have right to be heard, because unless and until we have a right to redressal, how will we redress our rights? How will
Mm.
we enforce them? So we have consumer district consumer forum, then state consumer redressal forum, and the national forum. So we have consumer forums, and we have an amended act of 2019, Consumer Protection Act 2019. You can read it. And we have
Yeah.
the right to consumer education, like the consumer ministry. We have Ministry of Consumer Affairs as well. It also creates awareness about your consumer rights, because we all are consumers. If I'm wearing this specs, I am a consumer of Lenskart, or if I'm wearing a watch, I am a consumer of Casio or XYZ. If we are not aware, then you will be exploited.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And also wishing you all happy Consumers Day. Yes, sir. Sir, do you have any legal advice to young entrepreneurs?
Okay. So I cannot say legal advice per se, but I used to be an entrepreneur, or say I can be called an entrepreneur because I run a startup which is related to
Yeah.
podcasts. We release
Yes.
podcasts of intellectual property lawyers and
Mm.
competition lawyers of India, and we are trying to expand. Also, earlier I used to run a networking startup with one of my friend.
Oh,
So we used to connect and network students all over India from the fields of engineering, law, and management. So because of the busy schedule, or you can say due to career progression, we had
mm,
to sell that startup. But I had my experience as an entrepreneur. So when you are an entrepreneur, it's like a running business, and all of the time 24/7 you have to be active. So it's
yeah.
such a hefty schedule that you may surpass some of the things, or you may ignore some of the things. From your incorporation as a startup, you might be an MSME, you might be a company. If you are just a society, you can be a society, you can be a trust, or you can be a Section 8 company. If you are any of these, or you might be just an unregistered startup. I just now told about you Article 19, you have right to form associations. It's your fundamental right. So if you are a startup owner or entrepreneur, you have to be aware about your, firstly, please create your privacy policy. Please create your end user agreements. Please create your HR policy, as well as your as well as right to information. But there has to be one information officer in your company, so that if someone has doubt, or you may call him or her as a redressal officer, grievance redressal officer. These things help. You must consider intellectual property rights. If you have a website, you should make sure that you have the copyright tracker on it, so that
Mm,
no one can copy any content from your website, and if they do, then you can always serve a legal notice upon them. You have to be aware of your intellectual property rights. Then you should
mm,
also be aware of the corporate world, what things are happening. Secondly, you have to have a good network, and when you are connecting people, then you are also you have to be aware of the labor laws, of
mm,
how, what should be the working hours, how should you treat them. You have to it's your right, it's their right to be treated equally. There's right to equality, right to form associations as well as in India, we do not have any Ministry of Happiness. Earlier, in the state of Madhya Pradesh, our chief minister proposed Ministry of Happiness. But yes, as we say that Bhutan is one of the most happiest countries in the world. These all things are there when you're in a startup. You have to manage all these things. Then there is the issue of finance as well. So we have to keep accounts. You have to be aware if you are coming in the tax brackets, if you have to pay tax, then you should pay taxes properly or file your taxes properly. So these things are there. You have to be aware of the market. Awareness is the key. If you want, you can engage legal counsels, because the most difficult thing that startup entrepreneurs face is firstly incorporation and secondly expansion. So these things they can consider. If they know their rights properly, then they will not be exploited. And also law of contracts is very much necessary. Plus e-commerce rules are very much necessary. E-commerce guidelines, as I can say, because when two people they do contracts and then one of the person cheats another person, there might be misrepresentation, there might be fraud. All these things are there. IT Act 2000 also comes into place, because if we are engaging into webinars, if any startup is providing services like webinars, then the content should also not violate any section of IPC. Because if any particular, for example, if any speaker says anything which can affect community peace or create riot, these things have to be considered, because ignorance of law is not an excuse.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. This will be very helpful for the budding entrepreneurs there. So, sir, what do you think about data privacy and WhatsApp privacy, as we saw many recent cases in nowadays related to it?
Thank you for asking the question. In March, or not in March, in January, I assume that WhatsApp upgraded its privacy policy and told its users that if you do not upgrade or if you do not accept our policy, then you will not be able to use. Most of us use WhatsApp. We tried to use Signal, but people are not ready to shift. We cannot
Yeah.
do anything because a lot of people are using WhatsApp. And the privacy policy, so it was not a take it or leave it policy. It was like you have to do it then move forward. So
Mm,
data privacy, data nowadays is the new nuclear power. Nuclear power is there, it's an another issue, but data is another nuclear power. Data is the
yes.
new oil, as we say, and data is an indicator of market power. Like Facebook acquired Instagram in 2013, it also acquired WhatsApp. Earlier WhatsApp was not a part of Facebook. It was an acquisition, or secular acquisition, because it killed competition in the social media sector. So my area of interest basically is competition law. So on 24th March 2021, Competition Commission of India, in its Suomoto case number 1 of 2021, took Suomoto cognizance. Suomoto means on its own. So took a Suomoto cognizance and summoned WhatsApp, or say put a case against an antitrust case against WhatsApp of assume abuse of dominant position. So in competition law, if you're dominant, it's not bad, but if you're abusing your dominant position, then it's very bad. It violates Section 4 of Competition Act. Secondly, you should not engage in anti-competitive agreements like it's mentioned in Section 3, like you should not engage yourself in cartel or tying arrangements or exclusive supplier, exclusive distribution agreements like that. So through this particular what data privacy, it was alleged that WhatsApp is selling its data to Facebook and Instagram as well as other, because Facebook now Meta is the parent entity of WhatsApp. So they know which coffee I like, they know where I go, they know what I like to eat, what I like to drink, they know whom I meet, they have all my contacts, they have my location, they know everything related to me. So it's like there's another friend or and he's not a good friend of yours. He might in any case be your enemy. WhatsApp and similar apps has all your information and they can always misuse it. They can sell it to companies. On WhatsApp, once it was once a scenario that I was talking to someone about a coffee and I saw an ad related to coffee on Instagram. How is it happening? It's happening because it's a group entity. So that is why these issues have to be considered. And whenever, because if you go on any website, we always have a feature of cookies.
Yes, sir.
If you go on anywhere, so you there is option of accept, close and accept, or do not accept, or maybe postpone. You can postpone the acceptance. So cookies is a feature which analyzes your behavior. It analyzes user experience. So if you are clicking on all of the things directly, then it's not a good consumer behavior. You should read. If you are purchasing a phone, you should read the privacy policy and legal policy of that particular phone on internet before purchasing that phone, about the company, how data secure that company is, how you will be benefited if there is any cyber security, if there's a cyber attack or something like that. Today itself, let me tell you a true story. On my messenger, I received a text from a person saying that, is it you on in the video, question mark, and a link. I
Oh,
thought that it might be one of my videos where I'm speaking, so I was excited, and I opened the link, and it was a virus. I My ad blocker currently and antivirus software quickly blocked it, and then that person realized and then understood that this is a kind of virus or malware which has attacked their phone. So these things you have to be aware of. Laws are not very boring. We all think laws of only constitution, criminal law, contracts. This is not the case. Laws are very interesting, like the laws which I study, like competition law, intellectual property rights, company laws. Because in digital economy we have a whole lot of laws and rights which are very different from the traditional rights. So you have to be aware. We have emerging technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, crypto. Everything has to be legally regulated. So these things are another debate or another set of discussion. But yes, data is an indicator of market power, and we as consumers should be aware that who are we selling our data to. If you're buying a 40,000 phone, it's not just you're not paying 40,000, you might be paying lakhs and crores of rupees to that particular person, because that particular entity is using your data for getting advertisements, for selling advertisements, for selling products and whatnot.
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So the students be aware of the things like what are your signing out and everything. And just coming to this, sir, what are the environmental laws of India, of our country?
Yes. So talking about environment, the I used to study in Guwahati. Currently, I am in my hometown due to pandemic. But Guwahati is a very beautiful city, as we say, and as we see. So there are a lot of we in India. We have rich heritage. We have
Yes.
a we have beautiful nature, and we have to understand that there is no planet B, there is only planet A, and that is our earth. There can be a concept of multiverse, but we will never prefer ourselves to shift to another planet because this planet's environment has degraded. So don't let's not discuss all these things, and we can escape from all that discussion uh, if we protect our environment. So we have Forest Conservation Act, we have Biodiversity Act, we have Environment Protection Act 1986, we have National Green Tribunal Act 2010. So National Green Tribunal is the higher regulatory body, or say a quasi judicial body for environment protection and conservation of forests in India. So people can file cases before that particular body, and the body adjudicate cases. So we have Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act. So the Air Act provides for prevention, control and abatement of air pollution, and for establishment of boards as central and state levels to carry inspections related to prevention of air pollution. We have Water Act 1974 for similar reasons to control water pollution. You can file cases related to water pollution. Then we have pollution control boards also in district level or say division level. Then we have Environment Protection Act 1986, which provides for protection and improvement of environment. As I already told in our fundamental duty, also we have our duty to protect our environment. So Environment Protection Act provides for, it's an umbrella legislation in environment law, especially Indian environment law. So it provides that central government has to take measures to protect and improve the quality of environment. Then the consumers, or say, then there is the liability of polluters. There is one principle known as polluters pay principle in environment law, which says that if you are polluting, you have to pay. There were good incidents of like Vishakhapatnam gas leak case,
Yes.
oleum gas leak case. It
Mm.
was a landmark case in Indian environment law regime where the particular authority has to be put it before the court, or say brought before the court, so that we can adjudicate matters. We have waste management regulations, and we have Wildlife Protection Act to protect wildlife, Forest Conservation Act to protect forest. Like in India, we have reserved forests, private forests, state owned forests. These kind of things are there. We have Biological Diversity Act to protect the our rich biodiversity. We have Forest Rights Act 2006, which protects the rights of the tribals who live in forests, or say forest dwelling individuals who are there in the forest areas, and because of them a lot of forests are being conserved. So all these rights are there. You have to read them, you have to know them, and whenever you see there is any violation, there is one Prevention of Animal to Cruelty to Animal Act. Like if you are acting in a cruel way to any animal, for example, if you see any person beating their pet, this is not a right thing to do. So we have Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, so you can file complaints. So all these things are there, acts are there. Thing is about enforcement, thing is about awareness. So if we are aware about our laws and rights, then nobody is stopping you from getting justice. It's not
Yes.
that difficult.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, what's your opinion about alternate dispute resolution?
Yes. So alternate dispute resolution has always been there in Indian society.
Mm.
Earlier, we used to study in our comic books that sarpanch or punch or village head is deciding matters among the villagers, or if there is any case, then the eldermost person is deciding matters. Or in our family, we see that we have our grandfather or great grandfather who are deciding family matters. These all are alternative dispute resolution. But legally speaking, in India, we have arbitration, mediation, conciliation, lok adalats. So all these are alternative dispute resolution. Like in courts, we have disputes being resolved, but there's an alternative medium, because in courts we have crores of cases which are pending in Supreme Court or say high courts of India. So to lessen the burden, we have alternative dispute resolution like arbitration to resolve commercial disputes in a good way, or say in a smooth way, effective manner. We have arbitration centers, we have trained arbitrators who are legal professionals who are specialized in the area of arbitration to resolve commercial disputes. These are not about domestic disputes or public disputes. Then we have mediation. So mediation can take place between for a family issue, or say like a marriage, or if you have divorce, if you have gone like if someone is someone's family is not in a very good state, and if they are planning for divorce, but a mediator might resolve their issues. There can be a misunderstanding, so all these misunderstandings can be solved before the mediator. There can be a dispute between two brothers. These things can be solved by the mediation. So mediation is the future because this is the most constructive way. You are not sending anyone to jail. You are
Yes.
not punishing anyone. You are using you're applying your mind, you are applying your heart, and then you are mediating. Then we have Lok Adalats. So National Legal Services Authority of India, NALSA, is the ultimate authority for providing legal services in India. And then we see that NALSA organizes Lok Adalat. So in Lok Adalats, a lot of cases which can be solved quickly can be solved. Then they organize Lok Adalats in on an yearly basis, or a few times in a year on a district level. So people can approach Lok Adalats, and with zero fees, zero court fees or minimal court fees, they can resolve their matters or conflicts. So this is a good method of dispute resolution, but the alternative dispute resolution uh, is not applicable in all the cases. Like you cannot mediate between a murderer and a person who is already dead due to the murder. So this does not applies to criminal laws, or say competition law, or issues like insolvency. So these things have to be solved in court or regulatory bodies.
Yes. Thank you so much,
Thank you
sir.
so much, sir.
Sir,
Sir,
do you
do
think?
you
Yes, sir. So, sir, do you think emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and blockchain technologies will have any impact on legal system of India?
Yes, definitely. Uh, I think that artificial intelligence is already creating a change in legal system. Uh, we Indian courts are using digital infrastructure. In COVID pandemic, Indian courts have used conferences apps like WebEx or Google Meet to hear cases, or Zoom to hear cases. Lawyers have used that in arbitration as well, and for client meetings as well. So these new technologies, because 10 years before, or say 15 years before, we were not aware of all these online conferencing apps, but now we all are aware, from a student who is studying online classes to a person, a 60-year-old who is attending a meeting, is aware of all these things. So artificial intelligence and other technologies like blockchain we have, and on the basis of blockchain we have new digital currency known as cryptocurrency. So we have a lot new things are there. We have a lot of algorithms which are developed by engineers, and new technologies. So every technology has its impact on society, so law has to regulate it. So we have an upcoming bill known as Blockchain and Regulation of Blockchain and Digital Currencies Bill. So the bill has not been passed yet. It's into consideration. So the government is planning to regulate cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is also based on blockchain, so that is why I'm connecting all the dots, because then we have also an interface between blockchain and competition law. In May 2021, Competition Commission of India, in collaboration with Ernst and Young (EY), published a consultation paper on blockchain. That how blockchain, because in blockchain there you cannot see who has written what or who has developed that block. If we have any anonymity like this, then how will we determine that who has created this anti-competitive agreement, or anti-competitive policy, or who which company is doing what, or they might share confidential information or trade secrets, or confidential information through the means of blockchain or these new technologies. So all these technologies, if they are affecting public policy or national security, we have to regulate that. Like we have privacy also in a very important consideration. So we have a data protection bill which is upcoming. It hasn't been passed yet. The parliament has completed its winter session, 18 days or so, I guess. So we may hope that these bills are passed in the winter session. All these things have their impact on legal system. Lawyers also need to be upgraded about the latest technologies, and practitioners also need to be upgraded. It's not that if you just study some laws or some books, then you will become a lawyer or you will become a legal professional. You have to be aware of the sector as well. For example, if I am a lawyer for a technology company like TCS, then I have to be aware about the software sector, about the information technology, IT and ITES services, like information technology and information technology equipment services as well. So all these things are there, which we all have to take into consideration. As a consumer, I would say wait and watch, because a consumer does not have to directly deal with blockchain and artificial intelligence. For lawyers like us, we are still analyzing the legal impacts of all these technologies.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, what's your take on digital economy and digital laws?
Yes. So I might use some of my references which I answered already. Also, you guys had had a session on emerging technologies.
Yes.
So whatever you learned there, just apply here, and you think from a legal point of view, that how that if you are like if we are talking about digital economy, so we are talking about e-commerce, we are talking about e-contracts. I already told you about cookies. Then we have express contracts. You click on any website, you do not read anything, just click on OK. Then you are accepting the offer of the particular of that company or that website, that yes, you are ready to accept whatever they are saying. So please read all the policies, all the terms and conditions. We also think that they are very lengthy documents, but then in some time you might be in trouble. Like in the bank documents, sometimes you just sign things without reading, and afterwards you see that you are not capable to take the loan, or you are not able to withdraw some amount. So it might be your fault, because you might have signed any contract with respect to that. So I think that you should pay attention to all these things in a digital economy. And it's a very good thing to say that in this year itself, India has a unicorn club of 42 unicorns. We have startups who have
Yes.
valuation of more than $1 billion. So the Spiny and Spice Slice are the latest unicorns. We have a total of 70 plus unicorns. Most of them are working in digital space. So we have ad tech unicorns, we have fintech unicorns, or say ad tech companies like Byju's and Academy. We have fintech companies like Google Pay, Phone Pay, etc. So we have OTT platforms, we have we have online platforms, like we in Google Classroom is one of them. Then there are other platforms as well. So whenever we talk about digital economy, of the primary sector is also search engines. Like Google is one of the dominant
Yes.
search engines in the world.
Yes.
And we have online payment systems, we have online taxis now, like Uber, Ola, etc. So
Yes.
all these things come in the sphere of digital economy. So everything is digital nowadays, and we have Digital India campaign of Government of India as well. So when all these things go digital, then laws also have to be of regulatory nature. We have Information Technology Act, we have Competition Act, Data Privacy Bill, and blockchain bill is upcoming. It's not passed yet. That's why we are calling it bill. It's not an act as of now. So in digital economy, we have recently there were IT rules which were released. There were e-commerce rules which were released. So they were establishing the responsibility or duty of the social media intermediaries. So these social media intermediaries were complaining against the government that why they are fixing responsibility. So if you have to be a legally aware citizen, then you should know that every person is responsible for what of their actions as well as omissions. If you have not done anything which is right, then you are guilty. If you have done anything which is wrong, then you are guilty. So in digital economy, we have to be more aware because of the upcoming technologies. We don't know, like today it happened with me. We don't know what is this link, how that link can be converted into a virus or malware. So we have cyber security. Then we have online crimes as well, starting from uh, starting from chatting to your say stalking to other types of crime. So we have a lot of cyber crimes as well which need to be regulated. So Information Technology Act, IT Act 2000 regulates and adjudicates all these laws as well. So these are certain provisions of law which I can say, but there are certain suggestions from my side that whenever you buy any phone, please try to see all the policies, legal policies, privacy policy, and user terms. And whenever you visit any website, please read about the website. Please visit authentic website. Don't just click OK because you think that the graphics of website is nice.
Yes, sir, we have to read. Sir, and also like a new bill has passed about the girls' marriage. Like it has shifted from 18 to 21, right, sir? What's your comment on it? What's your comments?
Yes, I think that it's a commendable move because in India we always regulated child marriages. And see, marriage in itself is a contract. And it is not only regulated by laws, it is also regulated by your religious customs. So shifting, because when we talk about equality, then it should be in every sphere of life. If you are allowing a boy to marry at the age of 21, then why you are allowing a girl to marry at the age of 18? Is it necessary that the girl has to be younger than the boy? So these things will create inequality in society as well. It's a good step that we have equalized, like now boys and girls both are eligible to marry only at the age of 21. So I see it as a good step towards equality, as well as respecting the system of religious customs as well as the legal jurisprudence.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And also, sir, the thing is from yes, sir. So the thing is like many of the public are not believing in law. They're just thinking about like we are feeding like the law is feeding the culprit in the jail instead of punishing them, they're feeding them. So what's your comments? Like why public isn't believing in law?
Yeah, if like I got your question regarding that instead of punishing a criminal, the system is feeding them. So these all things are related to politics. I may not be the right person to comment, but yes, there are your laws. Also, there are a lot of PILs as well, like public interest litigations. Whenever there's a disputed event, like recently there was Lakhimpur Kheri violence incident in Uttar Pradesh, or if you have any political sensitive incident, so there are certain laws as well as your own rights. If you are engaged in all of these things, then as a criminal also you have your own rights. It's not like that criminal is uh, treated differently. So everyone has their right, because we do not know that that particular person is criminal or not. But if you're talking about a terrorist like Kasab who was feeded, so there can be a lot of issues related to that, which I cannot comment as of now. But yes, I do not agree with that, that you have to always feed these criminals instead of punishing them. So there are the different theories of punishment, like punitive theory of punishment, where you punish the principal, then not principal, punishing the criminal. Then we have reformative theory of punishment, when we are trying to reform that particular the criminal by the ways of counseling or maybe other forms. So these things are there. And why public is not believing in law? First of all, is public ready to accept the truth that the nobody can be perfect, as well as why public is not believing in law? Firstly, why public is sending such member of parliament who are not educated, or some of the member of parliaments, they are not aware of the legal framework. Also, not only member of parliaments, there are IAS officers as well that I have seen that they are not very well aware of Indian laws. Because if UPSC aspirants are watching this, then studying Lakshmikant or Indian polity is not only the pure legal system or full legal system of India. You have to understand a lot of things. So sometimes officers of executive also do not understand all the aspects of laws, and then they fail in serving the public. So public will only believe in law when the people who are at the helm of affairs, they are aware of the law and they practice law in full confidence. So when these people will have confidence, public will be having confidence in law. Secondly, I always say that, like, you have religious scriptures at your home, you should have constitution at your home, because constitution is the law of the land. You should study constitution, at least, like, you should read it, and you can refer to it whenever you have anything in mind, or you're finding any trouble. So the constitution will always have an answer to your question if you are in any legal trouble. So I think that for public to believe in law, for example, if I talk about data privacy, how much percentage of youth, or say whole of the population, is aware of data privacy? They are not aware. So data education is also very much necessary in this country. If I talk about right to education, how much people are aware? If I talk about public interest litigation, how many are aware of their rights under article 32 and 226? How many are aware about the rights that are given to them, the fundamental rights? So all these things, because you cannot always learn law, because news anchors are not law teachers. So you cannot learn law from watching television. I haven't watched television from the last 2.5 years. I don't waste time there. You can read newspapers. Authentic websites are there to get news sources. So you can read good books. So public has to believe law. Not only constitution is necessary, constitutionalism is necessary. That you are believing in the constitution, that is an aspect, or say my opinion.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, and the last question of this session, of this particular thing. So, sir, like, have you ever worked in your past? Any case? Have you dealt with any case in your past, and any lessons you want to teach the students who are hearing?
See, I since I'm not a practicing lawyer now, I'm in my fourth year only, so I can only deal with cases after my fifth year when I'm graduated, and then I get my enrollment as an advocate. I
Mm-hmm.
get an enrollment certificate from Bar Council of India. So I haven't done any case, but yes, from my internships I have learned a lot of things. So there was one case where there was an PIL related to COVID. I worked with the Chief Justice of Patna High Court. So when there was the case, the name of the case was Shivani Kaushik versus Union of India. It's a famous case. So I read the case documents, and this is a public document. I'm not sharing any confidential information because that was a public interest litigation. So then we can take a lesson from there, that how a law student filed a public interest litigation against the state of Bihar, and its handling of COVID pandemic, the healthcare services which they provided, insufficiency of the services, and demand of more services. So these all things can be dealt in court of law. If you do not trust your government, at least you can trust the judiciary, because when you file a case, you have good arguments, then you have a good chance of winning, and then your rights will be enforced. This lesson which we can take.
Sir, thank you so much, sir. After listening to all these answers, like I'm sure the session has got more informative and livelier. Sir, we are having an amazing session. So, with your permission, let me take some questions from the audience, sir, with the same
Yes,
energy.
sure.
So,
Yes, sure.
viewers, now begins the Q&A session. Get hyped up and let our DBT running through our hands. Yes, audience, if you are having any questions, please drop down in the comment box so that we can take. Yes, sir, the first question from Susmita Mandal. Sir, what are the facts that you think a student should know about the basic rights and laws?
Yes, it's a good question, and it's also related to our theme of the session, that is basic laws and rights. So, what rights should a student be aware of? Firstly, you should be aware of the educational rights that you have, the rights which are related to, firstly, do not plagiarize your projects. If you are copying, you have to, you if you have certain rights, then you have duties as well. For example, if you are just copy pasting your project or any school work or college work, then you are infringing the copyright of any website or any author. So there are certain basic rights like Constitution of India, intellectual property rights. So Constitution, you have all those rights. You have right to form association. So a student might think that there is shall I am I eligible to form an association because I want to form an association with some of my friends and discuss ideas related to startup. So definitely you can form a startup society. You have a right to free. You have right to freedom to form associations under Article 19. Then, related to intellectual property rights, respect the copyright of other owners. You have to respect the trademarks and the GI tags. All these things you have to be aware of. Then also, as a student, since you are studying online, please be aware of the online contracts. Also, e-learning platforms, read about their privacy policy, secure your data, be aware of the cyber protection measures which you can take, download antivirus softwares, because you have to protect yourself. And also follow your fundamental duties, whatever I mentioned related to, because a student is the youth, and youth is the future of a nation, and our country has the maximum amount of youth in the world. So that is why these are certain basic laws and rights. And apart from these, if you follow my whole session, which whatever topics we discussed, then
Mhm.
that can be a good answer.
Thank you so much, sir. Can we have the next question, please? Question by Tejavat Akil Nayak. Is preamble part of the constitution? Because Bari Union case says no and Kesavanda Bharati versus State of Kerala says yes.
Preamble is a part of the Constitution of India. Yes, it's a part of Constitution. That is why when I was asked about fundamental rights, I firstly read the preamble. Beribara Union case is the very old case. It is already been overruled. Keshwanand Bharti is an authoritative case. It says that yes, it's a preamble. It's a part of the Constitution. Preamble is like it's like the preface of a book. Preamble is like an introduction of the principles which are covered in the Constitution of India. If we talk of economic justice, it's given in fundamental rights. We talk of equality, it's given in the preamble. We talk of fraternity, brotherhood, it's given in the preamble. So preamble covers all the basic principles or foundational principles that we have in the Constitution of India in full.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Can we have the next question, please? Yes, sir. Question by Tejavat Akhil. What is your opinion on theory of separation of powers, Montesquieu, and doctrine of checks and balance? And I think doctrine of checks and balance weaken nowadays. What do you think, sir?
Okay, this is a good question. I was about to cover this during a question, but yes, thank you for asking this. So, yes, French thinkers like Montesquieu and other thinkers, they formed this or say innovated this theory of the separation of powers and checks and balances. So why is it necessary? Theory of separation of powers says that there has to be decentralization of power rather than a centralized authority taking all the decisions. So in India, as I told, we have judiciary, executive, legislature, media as the four pillars of democracy. So judiciary has its own powers, executive has its own powers, and legislature has its own powers. Each of them cannot interfere in their work, but each of them can keep a check on each other. So this is the theory of checks and balances. For example, you might have seen that if there is any act which is unconstitutional, like for example, if there is any case or any policy which is unconstitutional that comes before any high court or supreme court of India and supreme court intervenes, so this we call as judicial activism. Judicial activism, the judges, they decide on the constitutionality or unconstitutionality of any law. So who passes law? Legislature. So if legislature is wrong, judiciary will correct. If executive is wrong, if any IAS officer is guilty of anything, not only IAS, executive is a very long hierarchy. We have a lot of officers, we have ministers or council of from council of ministers to the peon of a government office. Everyone is a part of executive. So if anyone is guilty or if they have overstepped their jurisdiction, then the court is there to intervene. Similarly, if executive is not working properly, then legislative, member of parliaments, member of legislative assemblies are there to regulate and adjudicate. So we have checks and balances. So if yes, it we can say that this theory has weakened nowadays because there is overstepping. In judiciary, we have judicial overreach. Sometimes lawyers and politicians, they argue that judiciary should not look into these matters. It is not their work. Then there are certain provisions where if a particular uh, judge has been appointed by a government of which is favorable to that particular judge, or we see all the kind of politics in that, then a theory of checks and balances cannot work, because if these people have their internal setting, so all these things cannot appear to be working practically. So all these things are there. There is a good amount of involvement, there is a good involvement of politics also.
Thank you so much, sir. I think Akhil have clarified this question. Can we have the next question, please? Question by Ganesh. Sir, most of the students are not aware of rights. They take it light. What do you think about it?
Yes, students are not aware of the rights because they study for the sake of studying, they study for the sake of marks. You should study for the sake of knowledge and not for the sake of marks. If even if you score 99% after 10 years, you will not get salary on the basis of that you got 99% in 10th or 12th or in your college, but you will get on the basis of your soft skills as well as your technical skills. So you should be curious about everything. Like I'm not an IT expert, but I will be aware of the latest technologies because there has to be a provision of legal regulation. So a student can be aware of all it the rights unless and until they face the need of it. For example, if they see that in their family someone has been adulterated by food adulteration, because of the bad food that they had and they did not see the expiry date of that product, then at that time that student will realize that yes, I should be aware of my rights and duties, I should have seen the expiry date and all these things. So this is just a small example. So don't wait for that particular thing to happen. Prevention is better than cure. If you are aware of all these things that I am saying, then you will be in the best position to secure yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. We have the next question from Akhil. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar tells, if I have powers, I will burn the Indian constitution. Why? I have researched, but I didn't get enough answer about it. Do you know? Please tell us, sir.
Yes, I know about it. Unfortunately, you have not researched properly. He didn't say that he will burn the constitution. Told that a constitution can be as good as the Constitution of India. It can be the best constitution, but if it is not implemented properly, then that constitution has to be of no use. He also said that if you are misusing the constitution, then that constitution can be burned because it is of no use if you are not enforcing as well as realizing your rights and duties. So don't misinterpret what Dr. Ambedkar said. He meant it in the right way.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Can we have the next question, please? Sir, question by Gayatri. How educational institution influence nations' laws and rights maintenance?
See, what? Yes, it's a very good question. It's a good question with respect to your consumer education, data education, constitutional education. Because firstly, we understand Indian polity and about democracy from our eighth class political science book. So all these things are there in our schools, in our higher education. So educational institutions can play a very good role by creating awareness in students about the emerging issues, also telling them or teaching them about Constitution of India, about the criminal justice system, civil laws, etc., so that students are aware about the basic laws that they should be made aware of, about the online contracts, about their own privacy. Because until and unless we start from students, then we may not be able to cover all of the youth, because students are majority of youth, and if students are made aware, then they will promote it, because students are very curious, students are very energetic, enthusiastic. So if they learn one new thing, then they will also promote it among their friends. They will tell that, do you know that this law is there, do you know that this thing is illegal? So it's a very good thing if any educational institution promotes these kind of awareness programs, or they may collaborate with any government institution, or any institution or any public authority to organize seminars and conferences and talk shows.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And can we have the last question, please? Yes, sir. Yeah, sir. What a student should do when he or she deny from their rights.
Yes, so not only a student, if you are denied your rights, for example, there is punishment for the police officer if any police officer refuses to lodge an FIR in a police station. We see films related to police officers and IPS officers. So there are certain rights that are given to you. If you are denied any particular right, then you have uh, you have the right to enforce it. Like if you are not allowed to form an association in your university, say your vice chancellor, chancellor, director, dean, etc. is refusing that you cannot form this association. Then you all are well aware of your fundamental rights: right to form association, right to equality, right to life, liberty, and personal liberty, right to life and personal liberty, Article 21, and all these things. So you can enforce these rights, write an application to that person, or engage a lawyer, send a legal notice. You have to engage in all these things, unless otherwise you will be exploited, because if a person thinks that, oh, he does not know his or her rights, then it's not good. So as a student, if you're denied any rights, fight for it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, yeah, why Section 66A cancelled?
Oh, I got your question. That Section 66A is related to IT Act. So there was a lot of misuse related to Section 66A of IT Act. That is why it's not cancelled. We do not say that a particular section is cancelled. It has Section 66A was telling that if any particular mail or electronic mail messages for the purpose of causing annoyance or inconvenience or to deceive anyone, then he has to be liable. So there was a very famous case which is related to this particular section. So this is section because this was mostly misused. Nowadays also we see that people are misusing this section to involve their personal enmity. So that is why there's also political incident related to this case. You can search on your own. So this is these sections. Some sections can be constitutional or can be declared unconstitutional after a time, because these sections are not concrete in nature. We as a
Mhm.
society also evolve, and laws have to act as parallel to the society's customs. If we are thinking that particular thing is not good, then we have to abolish that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And one last question from me, sir. So the thing, like, which book inspired you the most, sir, and who is your inspiration throughout this journey? And how do you feel about achieving this many at this stage, at this young age?
See, related to this question, I would like to say that I never thought that I would be able to do all these things. I just made a to do list or checklist that I have to do these things. I have to do internships with these people. I have to study these and these things. I have to excel in this or that area. I have to engage myself in this and that thing. So you have to set goals, achieve it, because we all have equal opportunities. It is all about how you exercise your opportunity, how to be a visionary person. Always see about 10, always think 10 years ahead, 5 years ahead of your colleagues, that how this thing can be successful. So all these things you have to practice. If you're like, for example, I was an entrepreneur, then I had to close because of timing issues. So all these things you test, and then you test, then you wait and watch. You have to analyze yourself. So related to book, I have this book with me. So this book is 10 lessons for a post pandemic world by Fareed Zakaria. It's one of the best sellers by Fareed Zakaria, CNN columnist and anchor. So there are very good lessons we have to understand post pandemic, because pandemic is ongoing. But yes, post pandemic world will be a digital world, hybrid world. If there's work from home, there cannot be mandatory office, there cannot be mandatory work from home, there will be a hybrid workplace, there will be a smart workplace, smart cars, smart contracts, smart educational system, smart apps, everything will be smart. So as a person we have to be smart, and we will become smart when we analyze whatever things are going on in our environment.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, so how do you feel interacting with us and about the event?
Yes, felt great, and thank you for inviting me and choosing me to speak on this particular topic, because I believe that you could have approached a lot of lawyers or maybe other people for speaking on basic laws and rights. And I heartfully thank you and your team for inviting me to this conference and interacting with your audience. And I really appreciate that Focus Next India conference has really covered a lot of diverse issues, from human rights, from motivational speech, emerging technologies, and you also invited entrepreneurs, and then we have covered basic laws and rights. So it's a very comprehensive conference, I would say. So if anyone needs to know about emerging technologies, the session which was conducted by Pledex can be an authority, can be a very good reference. So you guys have made a very good attempt, and all the best for your future events as well.
Yes, sir. I heartily thank you for again accepting our invitation and answering all these questions with so much of patience, sir. And best wishes for your further adventures too. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. That's it for the evening viewers. This live interactive session is the last live interactive session of our Focus Next India event. So we will be coming with some events in the future too. Stay tuned. Signing off, Harshita.